heavy paper green. Yeah. Keep the heavy paper green strictly circulating on the block. We building the community wealth entirely around the analog clock. Support the local brothers, support the undeniable neighborhood shop. We making sure the independent 99 hustle will never drop. Let the jazz flute breathe. Let the heavy upright bass strictly play. We feeding our own physical avenue. At the end of the day, I take a left down the pavement toward the corner barber chair, smelling the heavy talcum powder strictly floating in the air. The real physical parliament of the entire western neighborhood street, where the undisputed heavy truth and the local community meet. They discussing the heavy struggles, calculating the local neighborhood tax, while the clip is perfectly fading the hair entirely to the max. I hand the barber a folded 20, strictly telling him to keep the rest, because supporting the local physical foundation is the absolute best. Then I walk directly down to the independent mechanic garage bay, where they strictly keep the heavy Detroit iron running every day, turning the heavy iron wrenches, fixing the undeniable engine leak, protecting the heavy classic aesthetic for the entire coming week. If we don't spend our own physical cash directly with our own people, we building an entirely broken foundation beneath the neighborhood steeple. Keep the heavy paper green strictly circulating on the block. We building the community wealth entirely around the analog clock. Support the local brothers, support the undeniable neighborhood shop. We making sure the independent 99 hustle will never drop. Let the jazz flute breathe. Let the heavy upright bass strictly play. We feeding our own physical avenue. At the end of the day, it ain't just about the heavy groceries and the sharp physical fade. It's about the absolute independent art that the neighborhood made. I'm stepping back into the physical studio, pressing my own vinyl wax, delivering the undeniable, unfiltered and heavy street facts. I hold the commercial rights strictly to every single physical track, selling the heavy analog cassettes right out of the retro SUV bag. I am a local business, circulating the heavy physical street sound, keeping the absolute undeniable 99 revenue on the solid ground. We buy the heavy canvas clothes strictly from the local tailor shop, making sure the authentic neighborhood financial cycle will never stop. The massive downtown bankers don't care if this entire avenue starves. They just looking at the profit margins and the heavy corporate curves. So we completely lock the heavy physical economy strictly tight, guiding the neighborhood safely, entirely through the dark night. Heavy paper green strictly circulating on the block. We building the community wealth entirely around the analog clock. Support the local brothers, support the undeniable neighborhood shop. We making sure the independent 99 hustle will never drop. Let the jazz flute breathe. Let the heavy upright bass strictly play. We feeding our own physical avenue. At the end of the day, the electric current running deep inside the plastic shell. The desperate street dreamer right out of the neighborhood hell. The electric current running, let the raw frequency fly, painting a brand new destiny directly under the western sky. Let the drum break knock, let the analog bass line roll. That dusty synthesizer completely resurrecting my soul. I brought it back to the apartment, threw it on the wooden desk. The circuitry was burned out, looking like a massive mess, but I cracked the chassis open, pulled the motherboard apart, using the electrical engineering logic to restart its broken heart. I grabbed a soldering iron, connecting every severed wire, feeding the dead resistors with that raw magnetic fire, calculating the voltage, fixing the short circuit on the board until that machine hummed louder than a classic vintage Ford. I hit the power switch, the little red light began to glow. I pressed the single ivory key and let the deep frequency flow. That thick, rugged bass line rattled the windows in the frame. And in that exact fraction of a second, I forgot the street game. I didn't need to stand on the corner trying to hustle in the dark or waste my potential drinking cheap liquor in the local park. I had an entire orchestra trapped inside this plastic case, providing a permanent escape route from this unforgiving place. The electric current running deep inside the plastic shell, pulling the desperate street dreamer right out of the neighborhood hell. I plugged the heavy cable in and let the raw
frequency fly,
painting a brand new destiny directly under the western sky. Let the drum break knock, let the analog bass line roll. That dusty synthesizer completely resurrected my soul. Kaya was sitting on the sofa watching the obsession grow, seeing the dark shadows vanish from the apartment window. She heard the beautiful melodies cutting through the midnight gloom, transforming a tiny flat into a legendary studio room. I started twisting the knobs, finding a rugged and unique sound, building a solid musical foundation from the underground. Every time I tapped the keys, the anxiety faded away, washing out the violent sirens in the metropolitan gray. I was crafting my own reality, recording straight to the tape, designing the ultimate and undeniable sonic landscape. The hustlers on the block kept chasing a temporary thrill, while I was upstairs mastering an authentic lifelong skill. That $50 pawn shop purchase shifted the paradigm, turning the wasted neighborhood hours into incredibly valuable time. I found my true voice hiding inside the voltage and the chips, translating the street struggle right into the fingertips. The electric current running deep inside the plastic shell, pulling the desperate street dreamer right out of the
neighborhood hell.
I plugged the heavy cable in and let the raw frequency fly, painting a brand new destiny directly under the western sky. Let the drum break knock, let the analog bass line roll. That dusty synthesizers completely resurrected my soul. Yeah. The heavy wind, is blowing. The heavy wind is blowing through the tall wooden crowns, echoing the undeniable victory in these western towns. Those dark palm silhouettes completely blocking the dying light, proving that the long physical struggle was absolutely right. The sunset is the heavy golden medal for the honest grind, leaving the undeniable shadows of the past completely behind. Yeah, I remember the heavy skepticism coming from the neighborhood block. They told me I was completely entirely racing against broken clock. They said the heavy independent music was just a foolish, empty phase, but I kept my physical vision entirely focused, strictly through the maze. I pressed my own vinyl records, I secured the heavy master tape, designing my own permanent and undeniable physical escape. Now the massive leaves are swaying gently in the cooling air, washing away every single drop of the historical heavy care. The fender roads cause are washing over the heavy coastal sand, solidifying the absolute permanent roots in this western land. You look at the trees and you see the absolute height of the dream, floating perfectly straight down the heavy and peaceful physical stream. It ain't about the heavy gold chains or the expensive luxury ride, it's about the massive amount of undeniable physical peace inside. When the sun finally dips and the entire western sky turns black, you know that you entirely made it, and you're never going back. Yeah, the heavy wind is blowing through the tall wooden crowns, echoing the undeniable victory in these western towns. Those dark palm silhouettes completely blocking the dying light, proving that the long physical struggle was absolutely right. The sunset is the heavy golden medal for the honest grind, leaving the undeniable shadows of the past completely behind. The sweeping strings completely filling up the heavy open space, providing the absolute perfect soundtrack for the human race. I brought my people directly out to the heavy Pacific shore, showing them that the heavy poverty doesn't exist anymore. We sitting under the exact same trees I used to completely visualize, looking directly into the absolute joy inside their peaceful eyes. The acoustic bass is walking perfectly in time with my own heartbeat, a permanent and undeniable victory over the unforgiving streets. Every single scar on my hands was absolutely completely worth the price to secure this heavy piece of the undeniably physical paradise. The palm trees are the heavy monuments to the independent mind, the absolute greatest physical treasure that the heavy soul can find. So let the drum break hit perfectly, strictly for the final time, as I completely, entirely master the undeniable physical rhyme. The dark silhouette standing completely tall against the fading red, exactly like the heavy victorious words that the ancestors said. Yeah. Let the steering wheel slide. Let the steering wheel slide. Yeah. Yeah. Let the steering wheel slide right through the palms of my hand, riding smooth across this sprawling western land. The sun is painting the sky in a purple and orange fade, chilling in the deep pockets of the palm tree shade. A couple kids on the corner playing a casual game of dice. The evening air is cooling down, feeling incredibly nice. I tap the brakes just to let a stray cat cross the street, nodding my head gently to this mellow analog beat. No rush hour traffic, the boulevard is wide and clear, wiping away the remaining dust of the atmosphere. We took the classic muscle car right out of the garage, floating like a phantom through the concrete city mirage. The golden era tape playing softly in the dashboard deck, with zero expectations and nobody to keep in check. Wheels turning slow on the faded black tire. We chasing the horizon, ain't no reason to stop. The wind is blowing cool, the engine singing a song in the middle of the city is exactly where we belong. Lord, let the muted trumpet cry, let the jazz guitar glide. Just an aimless journey on this beautiful western ride. Passing by the old murals painted on the brick walls, listening to the echoes when the silent city calls. The neon signs are buzzing, flickering red and blue, a cinematic masterpiece, a panoramic view. I see the older generation sitting on the porch swings, enjoying the simple comfort that the calm evening brings. No need to hit the gas pedal, I'm cruising at 25, just soaking in the feeling of being out here alive. The suspension absorbing every crack in the aging road, carrying a peaceful and remarkably quiet load. The rhythm of the bass drum matches my own heartbeat, a permanent connection to this beautiful concrete street. I take a left turn down an alley I've never even seen, keeping the vintage machinery polished and gleaming clean. Ain't looking for a party, ain't looking for a crowd, just escaping the spaces where the voices get too loud. Wheels turning slow on the faded black tire. Woo. We chasing the horizon, ain't no reason to stop. The wind is blowing cold, the engine singing a song in the middle of the city is exactly where we belong. Love, let the muted trumpet cry, let the jazz guitar glide. Just an aimless journey on this beautiful western ride. The stars are starting to peek through the smoggy sky, watching the quiet moments of the neighborhood fly by. Gentle breeze carrying the scent of a corner barbecue, the genuine magic of the 96 residue. I got my arm resting lazy on the open window frame, forgetting all about the rules of the metropolitan game. There is no finish line when you're riding without a map, escaping the invisible boundaries of the city trap. We just floating like a spirit through the twilight zone, in the meditative state, claiming the mogul throne. The jazz chords wrapping around the rhythm like a warm coat, keeping the mental sanity in the tire soul afloat. Tomorrow brings the struggle, tomorrow brings the fight, but nobody is taking away this peaceful western night. Just the street lights passing over the hood one by one, a flawless victory achieved without a single thing done. Wheels turning slow on the faded black tire. We chasing the horizon, ain't no reason to stop. The wind is blowing cold, the engine singing a song in the middle of the city is exactly where we belong. Let the muted trumpet cry, let the jazz guitar glide. Just an aimless journey on this beautiful western ride. The sun is dipping carefully right behind the wooden fence line, pouring up the dark liquid, letting the vintage evening shine. The analog speaker box is sitting right on the concrete patio floor, pushing out the raw emotional rhythm that the neighborhood absolutely adores. A classic soul singer crying beautifully through the magnetic static and dust, building up the ultimate foundation of the 99 backyard trust. I cracked the velvet box open, pouring the solid white tiles on the wood, exactly how we're proper and respected. We can gather and should. My uncle sitting across the table, wearing the tilted brim hats, exchanging the incredibly sharp and seasoned neighborhood facts. We shuffling the ivory completely face down, mixing the physical fate. No need for the fast street drama, we completely elevating the state. Watching the younger kids kicking the European football across the lawn, while we mathematically calculating every single move until the dawn. The horn section completely carrying the heavy emotional weight, preparing the focused mind for the absolute perfect 99 bait.
The chop so focused,
completely singing directly to the
western sky.
The sharp crack of the ivory bones,
Waving the week goodbye.
we slamming the double six completely perfectly onto the wooden board.
The undeniable neighborhood respect that simply cannot be ignored.
Keep the bass guitar walking,
Let the high-pitched synth softly cry.
the genuine analog backyard piece
Is absolutely never gonna die.
I draw my 7 pieces, arranging them perfectly inside my hand, reading the absolute psychology of the most seasoned players in the land. He plays the 5-3, looking directly straight into my eyes, testing the physical boundaries, looking for the completely subtle lies. But I keep the facial expression entirely carved out of solid stone, waiting for the perfect mathematical moment to drop the heavy bone, the needle completely catching the groove, the bass line dropping deep, waking up the intense competitive spirit from its temporary sleep. I connect the 3 to the double blank, locking the entire board down, securing the undeniable intellectual crown of this western town. He shakes his head, tapping the heavy wooden table twice, acknowledging the completely flawless and perfectly calculated price. You cannot buy this level of strategic education in the downtown school. You gotta sit at the folding table and completely learn the analog rule. The soulful rhythm entirely perfectly masking the heavy tension in the air, with the scent of the burning cedar completely floating everywhere.
The chop soul vacant,
Completely singing directly to the
western sky.
the sharp crack of the ivory bones,
Waving the week goodbye.
we slamming the double six completely perfectly onto the wooden board.
The undeniable neighborhood respect that simply cannot be ignored.
Keep the bass guitar walking,
Let the high-pitched synth softly cry.
the genuine analog backyard piece
Is absolutely never gonna die.
The scoreboard is strictly written with a dull pencil on a yellow pad, documenting the absolute best physical competition that we ever had. The vinyl record entirely reaches the absolute end of paper label, but the undeniable energy is still completely locked right onto the table. I flip the black wax over, dropping the heavy silver needle again, pushing the beautiful analog frequency perfectly straight to the 10. We talking the good nature trash, testing the heavy neighborhood pride, with absolutely nothing to prove and completely nothing to hide. It's the genuine architecture of the physical 99 community bond, reaching incredibly far beyond the local neighborhood pine. When the final heavy tile is completely slammed right onto the edge, we fulfill the absolute, undeniable, and permanent backyard pledge. The loser shuffles the pile, the winner deals the brand new hand, keeping the heavy rotation perfectly spinning in the western land. The high-pitched synthesizer entirely floating right above the trees, carrying
beautiful analog melody perfectly on the evening breeze. The chop is so focused, completely singing directly to the western sky. The sharp crack of the ivory bone waving the week goodbye. We slamming the double six completely perfectly onto the wooden board. The undeniable neighborhood respect that simply cannot be ignored. Keep the bass guitar walking, let the high-pitched synth softly cry. The genuine analog backyard piece is absolutely never gonna die.
We traded the heavy. Yeah. We traded the heavy street corner strictly for the basement studio room. Escaping the undeniable and permanent heavy metropolitan dome. Building a physical band, laying the analog rhythm entirely down. The absolute heaviest independent musical syndicate in the town. Keep the heavy piano looping, let the muted saxophone softly cry. We writing our own permanent legacy perfectly under the western sky. Yeah, I found a heavy bass player who used to completely struggle in the dark, and a drummer who was entirely wasting his physical talent in the park. We pulled the thick acoustic foam perfectly straight onto the dent wall, answering the absolute undeniable and heavy authentic musical call. No completely fake friends standing around and plotting behind my back. Just a tight physical circle completely focused on the magnetic track. They used to laugh when I said I was completely leaving the street behind, but they couldn't entirely comprehend the elevation of the physical mind. Yeah, now we sitting in a circle writing the heavy lyrics on the yellow pad, replacing the absolute entirely worst physical habits that we ever had. We entirely completely own the commercial rights to every single song we make, securing the absolute heavy financial future with every track we bake. No corporate executives or heavy street hustlers demanding a massive cut, just a heavy physical door of the recording booth completely pulled shut. The SP1200 drum machine perfectly entirely dictating the heavy pace, creating a completely flawless sanctuary in a heavily broken space. We traded the heavy street corner strictly for the basement studio room, escaping the undeniable and permanent heavy metropolitan doom. Building a physical band, laying the analog rhythm entirely down. The absolute heaviest independent musical syndicate in the town. Keep the heavy piano looping, let the muted saxophone softly cry. We writing our own permanent legacy perfectly under the western sky. The old crowd is completely entirely sitting entirely behind the iron bars, while we safely entirely loading the heavy equipment into the vintage cars, heading directly to the local heavy stage to perform the physical set, the absolute greatest 95 neighborhood victory we could ever get. The muffled bass line perfectly completely shaking the wooden stage floor, leaving the absolutely massive neighborhood crowd entirely begging for more. When you cut the heavy toxic ties, the heavy physical vision gets clear, completely entirely removing the heavy accumulation of the street fear. I look at the heavy microphone completely strictly gripped inside my hand, the absolute greatest weapon wielded by the most authentic physical band. We built this heavy empire completely entirely from the absolute ground up, filling the completely empty and exhausted physical neighborhood car. The haunted piano entirely perfectly echoing straight through the dark night, proving that walking completely away from the negative crowd was right. The heavy analog tape is completely entirely rolling strictly on the real, documenting exactly how the absolute genuine street survival feels. Yeah, we traded the heavy street corner strictly for the basement studio room, escaping the undeniable and permanent heavy metropolitan doom.
entirely down. The absolute heaviest independent musical syndicate in the town. Keep the heavy piano looping, let the muted saxophone softly cry. We writing our own permanent legacy, perfectly under the western sky. Traded the heavy, the heavy, the heavy, the heavy, the heavy, the heavy,
Stepping off. Stepping off. Baby. Yeah. White flannel. Yeah. Stepping off the wooden porch, the white rubber squeaks on the stone, leaving the heavy street drama and the unnecessary negativity alone. Got the bright yellow and navy flannel buttoned up to the collarbone, operating entirely peacefully inside my own personal physical zone. No need to walk with a heavy scowl or a clenched and angry fist. We completely erasing the tension from the metropolitan list. The elders sitting on the stoop now with absolute heavy respect. Seeing the young brother keeping his entire physical mindset in check. I brush a tiny speck of dust right off the crisp white toe box, while the heavy analog boombox rocks the entire perimeter of the blocks. You don't need to carry a heavy burden to prove you belong to the street. You just need a clear conscience and a fresh pair of kicks on your feet. The soul vocal scratch cuts perfectly through the warm afternoon air, replacing the heavy neighborhood struggles with a completely peaceful flair.
Bright flannels catching the absolute perfect afternoon light.
Fresh white leather stepping
completely away from the fight.
We walking with a heavy peaceful rhythm,
leaving the
anger
behind.
The absolute greatest elevation
of the 96 physical mind.
Keep the funky bass line pushing,
let the warm roads play.
We claiming the pure positive energy
on this beautiful western day.
Cruising strictly on foot today, enjoying the actual physical stride, carrying a massive amount of internal and undeniable peaceful pride. The bright woven cotton is popping directly against the gray concrete, walking perfectly strictly to the rhythm of this uplifting analog beat. The younger kids running past, leaving the heavy chalk on the ground, growing up perfectly safe inside this completely positive sound. Now side step a shallow puddle just to protect the pristine white lace, maintaining the absolute flawless aesthetic in this chaotic physical space. They ask why I'm smiling, why I ain't looking tough for the heavy crowd. I tell them the peaceful state of mind is speaking incredibly loud. The brass stabs hitting perfectly, strictly elevating the entire mood, serving the neighborhood a heavy plate of the finest spiritual food. We strictly exchanging the handshakes instead of the hostile heavy stares, washing away the heavy accumulation of the daily metropolitan cares. Bright flannels catching the absolute perfect afternoon light. Fresh white leather stepping completely away from the fight. We walking with a heavy peaceful rhythm, leaving the anger behind. The absolute greatest elevation of the 96 physical mind. Keep the funky bass line pushing, let the warm roads play. We claiming the pure positive energy on this beautiful western day. The shadows are getting longer, stretching directly across the paved lane, but we absolutely, entirely, successfully, completely dodged the heavy pain. The thick flannel material blocking out the sudden heavy evening breeze, keeping the completely relaxed physical body entirely and perfectly at ease. The street lights are strictly waking up, casting a yellow and warm glow, dictating exactly how this peaceful 96 physical evening should go. I look down at the white leather, still completely, entirely untouched, because I didn't let the heavy negative situations absolutely be clutched. It takes an absolute heavy strength to walk completely away from a fight and secure the completely undeniable heavy peace in the middle of the night.
front door, leaving the entire Western Hemisphere absolutely, strictly begging for more. A flawless victory achieved completely without raising a single hand, spreading the bright and entirely positive aesthetic across the heavy land. Bright flannels catching the absolute perfect afternoon light. Fresh white leather stepping completely away from the fight. We walking with a heavy peaceful rhythm, even the anger behind the absolute greatest elevation of the 96. Physical mind, keep the funky bass line pushing. Let the warm roads play. We claiming the pure positive energy on this beautiful Western day.
So yeah, I navigate. I navigate the heavy concrete arteries, cutting strictly straight through the grid, where the bright Hollywood illusions and the absolute dark realities are hid. The yellow sun is fighting hard just to pierce the thick layer of the brown air. But there isn't undeniable magic strictly breathing in this specific atmosphere. I see the yellow caution tape wrapping perfectly around the rusted chain link fence, living in a zone where the daily survival is absolutely and entirely intense. But the moment I grip the heavy wooden steering wheel of the classic ride, I feel a massive and completely undeniable surge of the Western pride. The tourists only see the shiny white letters resting entirely on the high mountain hill. They completely miss the heavy analog rhythm and the genuine physical street skill. This asphalt is strictly, completely soaked in the heavy historical tears and sweat. The most incredibly beautiful and unforgiving metropolitan environment you could ever get. She's a heavy and dangerous queen, wearing the crown of the broken glass, watching the beautiful muscle cars and the heavy city struggle smoothly past. The palm trees are strictly hiding the undeniable pain right in the shade. But this is exactly the raw environment where the independent legends are made. Keep the wild, wild guitar crying, let the classic synthesizer completely soar. I love this beautiful unbroken city today, tomorrow, and forevermore. Got Kaya sitting quietly on the passenger side, watching the chaotic avenue blur, finding a perfectly quiet and peaceful sanctuary, strictly existing next to her. We cruising right past the heavy flashing lights, reflecting perfectly on the West Street, synchronizing the physical pulse entirely with this heavy analog heartbeat. Yeah, they tell me to pack the heavy canvas bags and leave the danger completely far behind, but they absolutely don't understand the heavy connection permanently carved into my mind. I press my own analog masters directly in the deep shadow of the downtown skyline, ensuring the commercial rights and the heavy independent financial future are strictly mine. I don't need a corporate executive from a completely different time zone telling me how to sound. I draw the absolute purest inspiration strictly from this unforgiving concrete ground. The heavy sirens are echoing perfectly in the background of the analog vocal track, and no matter how incredibly far I travel, the heavy gravity always pulls me back. She's a heavy and dangerous queen, wearing the crown of the broken glass, watching the beautiful muscle cars and the heavy city struggle smoothly past. The palm trees are strictly hiding the undeniable pain right in the shade. But this is exactly the raw environment where the independent legends are made. Keep the wild, wild guitar crying, let the classic synthesizer completely soar. I love this beautiful and broken city today, tomorrow, and forevermore. You gotta absolutely entirely respect the heavy duality of this western coast. The exact physical places that will break you are the ones that you love the most. We taking the retro SUV straight down the boulevard toward the local neighborhood park, finding the absolute bright physical joy right before the entire sky goes pitch dark. The kids are kicking the European football right across the faded and dusty green grass, ignoring the heavy helicopters completely, entirely making another loud, low pass. The true beauty is completely hidden perfectly inside the undeniable daily struggle. A massive and beautifully complex physical 96
96 Metropolitan puzzle. I smell the heavy exhaust fumes mixing directly with the salty ocean breeze. Feeling completely and entirely at home, putting the exhausted physical mind at ease. Los Angeles is a completely flawed masterpiece, a heavy diamond in the absolute rough. And for the authentic independent souls, she will always be entirely enough.
Yeah.
I see the brothers, I see the brothers acting tough.
Yeah.
I see the brothers acting tough. Every crown.
Yeah. Yeah, I see the brothers acting tough, strictly talking down to the ladies, caught up entirely in the childish games of the late 80s. But a true 96 gentleman knows exactly how to act right, providing the absolute safe harbor in the middle of the heavy night. I park the classic muscle car and I open up the heavy iron door, because the beautiful Western queens absolutely deserve completely more. She carries the heavy weight of the neighborhood directly on her back, keeping the completely exhausted physical family perfectly on track. You gotta speak the heavy words of affirmation directly to her mind, leaving the toxic and entirely foolish masculine pride completely behind. I watch her navigate the brutal concrete with an undeniable grace, bringing the massive ray of sunshine completely into a broken space. So I keep the heavy tone respectful, the vocabulary perfectly clean, because every single woman on this avenue is an undisputed queen.
The heavy crown of the Western Coast
belongs entirely
to the queens, way beyond the shiny magazines
and the
cinematic scenes.
We bring in the absolute highest respect,
strictly to the front door,
leaving the foolish disrespect
directly on the cutting room floor. Keep the baseline bouncing, let the female harmonies rise.
The ultimate strength
is reflecting perfectly right in her eyes.
They wanna paint the heavy street culture strictly with a violent brush, but I'm entirely slowing down the frantic metropolitan rush. I got catch you relaxing comfortably right on the heavy velvet couch. I'm completely protecting her peace, that is something I can absolutely vouch. No need for the loud neighborhood drama or the heavy club scene, just a quiet domestic comfort in a completely peaceful routine. She's a massive intellectual force, calculating the heavy daily math, guiding the entirely exhausted physical soul strictly down the right path. You see, the absolute true power ain't about raising up a heavy hand, it's about making sure the beautiful matriarchs completely understand that we value the heavy physical presence completely beyond the visual appeal, and the absolute immense emotional support that they genuinely make us feel. The warm electric piano entirely washing completely over the heavy beat, a flawless 96 dedication strictly echoing down the street.
The heavy crown of the Western Coast
belongs entirely
to the queens, way beyond the shiny magazines
in the
cinematic scenes.
We bring in the absolute highest respect,
strictly to the front door,
leaving the foolish disrespect
directly on the cutting room floor. Keep the baseline bouncing, let the female harmonies rise.
The ultimate strength
is reflected perfectly right in her eyes. I see the brothers. I see the brothers. I see the brothers.
The heavy iron chassis jumping entirely off his back. The aggression completely melts away, replaced by the heavy street cheers, washing away the absolutely undeniable and heavy metropolitan fears. I got my own independent analog tape, pushing through the master speaker cone, holding the commercial rights to every single track, sitting on the heavy throne. The heavy hydraulic fluid is pumping perfectly straight through the line, making the entirely exhausted 99 Avenue completely shine. We traded the heavy street aggression strictly for the three-wheel bounce, the absolute greatest peace treaty that the Western coast could ever announce. Keep the whammy guitar sliding, let the warm synthesizer perfectly glide. We unite in the heavy concrete jungle with the undeniable low-rider pride. Cruising perfectly straight past the chain link fence by the local park, where the dangerous heavy physical confrontations usually entirely spark. I see two heavy crews standing entirely face to face in the heat, ready to absolutely tear up the entirely unforgiving concrete street. I lay perfectly heavy on the horn, grabbing the absolute attention, slicing completely straight through the heavy undeniable neighborhood tension. I drop the rear bumper completely down to scrape the heavy steel plate, showing the entire Western Hemisphere exactly how the true funk translates. Sparks completely flying perfectly straight out from the heavy rear end, turning a potential enemy directly into a heavy neighborhood friend. They completely stop the heavy arguing, walking over to inspect the ride, forgetting the entirely heavy anger and the foolish metropolitan pride. It takes an absolute heavy mechanical masterpiece to unite the divided block, replacing the heavy street drama with the entirely perfect hydraulic shot. The heavy hydraulic fluid is pumping perfectly straight through the line, making me entirely exhausted. 99 Avenue completely shine. We traded the heavy street aggression strictly for the three-wheel bounce, the absolute greatest peace treaty that the Western coast could ever announce. Keep the whammy guitar sliding, let the warm synthesizer perfectly glide. We unite in the heavy concrete jungle with the undeniable low-rider pride. The heavy California sun is strictly beginning to perfectly dip low, but the heavy hydraulic street carnival is absolutely ready to go. Other classic heavy muscle cars completely strictly pulling up to the scene, the most incredibly peaceful physical gathering that the avenue has ever seen. We hitting the heavy switches in absolute entirely perfect unison now, showing the incredibly heavy and stressed neighborhood exactly how you completely entirely channel the heavy frustration directly into the bounce, making the entirely exhausted heavy metropolitan population heal and pronounce. No police sirens, completely entirely screaming straight down the avenue tonight. Just the undeniable heavy bouncing vehicles under the yellow street light. The independent heavy analog track perfectly entirely riding the heavy breeze, putting the entirely completely exhausted heavy physical neighborhood at ease. The heavy Detroit iron completely entirely doing what the politicians could never do. We're bringing the absolute completely entirely undeniable heavy peace strictly to you. Strictly to you. Yeah. The heavy speakers completely shaking the sand right under our feet, taking the absolute best elements directly from the concrete street. Yeah, we traded the heavy neighborhood drama for the salty ocean air, leaving every single metropolitan struggle an undeniable care. Keep the analog tape spinning, let the acoustic bass completely roll. This beach party is the ultimate medicine for the 95 soul. The crowd is strictly gathering around the heavy sound system now, showing the entirely divided city absolutely and perfectly how you can bring 100 people together without a single heavy fight, basking completely safely in the fading orange afternoon light. The coolers are completely packed with the ice in the cold glass, watching the beautiful peaceful hours of the weekend smoothly pass. I see the elders unfolding the heavy wooden canvas chairs, completely escaping the heavy burden of the metropolitan affairs. No flashing police sirens trying to shut the physical gathering down. Just the absolute undisputed kings and queens of this western town. A couple kids break dancing perfectly on a flattened cardboard box, while the heavy analog boombox absolutely undeniably rocks. The rhythm completely syncing up perfectly with the incoming tide, washing away the foolish street ego and the dangerous physical pride. The heavy speakers completely shaking the sand right under our feet, taking the absolute best elements directly from the concrete street. We traded the heavy neighborhood drama for the salty ocean air, leaving every single metropolitan struggle and undeniable care. Keep the analog tape spinning, let the acoustic bass completely roll. This beach party is the ultimate medicine for the 95 soul. The sun is entirely sinking completely straight into the deep blue, giving the entire coastal horizon a heavy and beautiful purple hue. We gather in the heavy driftwood, sparking a massive evening fire, taking the entirely positive physical frequency completely higher. The vinyl scratch perfectly echoing right across the open bay, the absolute perfect conclusion to an undeniably flawless day. You don't need a heavy VIP section or an expensive club door. The greatest physical party is happening right on the ocean shore. The music travels incredibly far directly across the flat water surface, fulfilling its undeniable and completely righteous physical purpose. We pass in the heavy plates of food, sharing the undisputed wealth, focusing entirely completely on the community and physical health. The heavy cassette tape finally reaches the absolute end of the reel, but the entire coast completely knows exactly how this unity feels. I flip the plastic tape over, hitting the heavy play button again, keeping the peaceful 95 frequency perfectly, strictly out of town. The heavy speakers completely shaking the sand right under our feet, taking the absolute best elements directly from the concrete street. We traded the heavy neighborhood drama for the salty ocean air, leaving every single metropolitan struggle an undeniable care. Keep the analog tape spinning, let the acoustic bass completely roll. This beach party is the ultimate medicine for the 95 soul. Get the heavy leather. Yeah. The heavy leather ball rolling perfectly across the green space, uniting the entirely divided physical metropolitan human race. No empty promises, strictly the heavy sweat and the undeniable skill. The European football rhythm completely conquering the neighborhood hill. Keep the hammer, keep the ham and organ stabbing, let the heavy stadium brass blow. This is exactly how the authentic street unity is supposed to strictly grow. The referee blows the heavy metal whistle perfectly right in the midday sun. The absolute most authentic 96 physical neighborhood battle has begun. You got the local mechanics, the barbers, the corner store clerks, proving exactly how the genuine and physical community network works. A heavy slide tackle strictly right in the middle of the thick mud, pumping the undeniable physical passion straight into the neighborhood blood. The politician wants to entirely build a heavy concrete dividing wall, but we tear it completely down with a single flawless pass of the ball. The heavy crowd is standing entirely strictly right on the sideline edge, fulfilling the absolute true and permanent heavy physical pledge. When the striker hits the top corner of the heavy white nylon net, it's the most unifying physical moment that the avenue could ever get. The heavy cheer echoing perfectly straight down the concrete block, a permanent physical victory entirely off the heavy political clock. The heavy leather ball rolling perfectly across the green space.
Uniting the entirely divided
Physical metropolitan human race. No empty promises, strictly the heavy sweat and the undeniable skill.
the European football rhythm.
Completely conquering the neighborhood hill. Keep the hammer and organ stabbing, let the heavy stadium brass blow.
This is exactly how the authentic street unity
It's supposed
to strictly grow.
The yellow sun is strictly dropping directly behind the tall, heavy trees. The exhausted physical bodies perfectly resting entirely on their knees. The 90 minutes of the absolute heaviest and undeniable physical test, proving that the 96 neighborhood unity is absolutely the best. We're strictly shaking hands right in the absolute center of the midfield circle, while the heavy evening sky slowly, completely turns a deep shade of purple. They try to divide us with the heavy pamphlets and the paper lies, but the undeniable physical truth is perfectly visible right in our eyes. The heavy European football pitch is the absolute ultimate street court, a completely flawless and entirely physical 96 unifying sport. No heavy campaign donations, absolutely zero hidden political fees, just a heavy wind blowing completely, perfectly through the leaves. So keep your heavy podiums and your entirely fake metropolitan smiles. We build in the absolute physical unity,
Strictly stretching for miles.
the heavy leather ball rolling perfectly across the green space.
uniting the entirely divided
Physical metropolitan human race. No empty promises, strictly the heavy sweat and the undeniable skill. The European football rhythm, completely conquering the neighborhood hill. Keep the hammer and organ stabbing, let the heavy stadium brass blow.
This is exactly how the authentic street unity
It's supposed to strictly grow.
I say, creating the absolute perfect soundtrack for the sunny metropolitan day. You feel that thick low and vibration shaking the heavy leather seat. It's the undeniably absolute cure for the unforgiving concrete street. The heavy groove is entirely catching, spreading exactly like a fire. Taking the heavy 99 physical energy completely and strictly higher. No mean mugs today, strictly the heavy head nods and the wide grins. Exactly where the absolute undeniable healing of the true funk begins. That deep, funky bass, completely bouncing straight through the floor, making the heavy metropolitan neighborhood absolutely beg for more. You cannot fight the rhythm, the heavy smile is completely guaranteed, planting the entirely undeniable 99 heavy musical seed. Keep the slap bass walking, let the warm synthesize perfectly glide. We riding strictly on that absolute, undeniably heavy positive tide. I look over at the passenger side, Katya is completely smiling wide, enjoying the absolute flawless rhythm of this heavy analog ride. The warm wind is perfectly blowing straight through the open window glass, watching the heavy and completely chaotic city environment smoothly pass. We ain't rushing to a heavy destination, we strictly enjoying the groove, watching how the entire heavy western hemisphere organically begins to move. The heavy tambourine shaking exactly on the crisp MPC snare, throwing the heavy analog vibration directly out into the open air. I completely built this heavy instrumental strictly from the ground up, feeling the completely empty and exhausted physical neighborhood cup. You absolutely cannot fake the pure joy sitting inside this heavy track. We bringing the absolute undeniable golden era of the G-Funk back. The thick heavy strings completely resonating perfectly inside the wood, doing exactly what the authentic 99 aesthetic absolutely should. That deep funky bass completely bouncing straight through the floor, making the heavy metropolitan neighborhood absolutely beg for more. You cannot fight the rhythm, the heavy smile is completely guaranteed, planting the entirely undeniable
walking. Let the warmth synthesize perfectly glide.
We riding strictly on that absolute,
undeniably heavy positive tide.
the heavy sun is bouncing perfectly off the thick chrome wire wheels, reflecting exactly how this deep, heavy, funky bass line
Truly feels
it's a completely undeniable heavy physical reaction strictly in your spine. When the heavy kick drum and the slap bass entirely
perfectly aligned.
the kids on the corner absolutely stop what they doing just to wave, getting exactly the heavy positive energy that they strictly in.
Purely crave.
Even the heavy neighborhood critics completely gotta tap their feet when this entirely flawless analog rhythm strictly rolls
down the street.
I press the heavy record button, securing the heavy master tape, providing the absolute entirely perfect physical
musical escape.
This ain't about the heavy aggressive, completely undeniable street fight. This is about securing in the heavy joy straight through the metropolitan night. The deep heavy funk is entirely, completely, absolutely here to stay. Watching the completely heavy and unforgiving
Metropolitan gray away. That deep funky bass
completely bouncing straight
through the floor,
making the heavy metropolitan neighborhood
absolutely beg for more.
You cannot fight the rhythm. The heavy smile is completely
Guaranteed
letting the entirely undeniable 99.
heavy musical seed.
Keep the slap bass walking.
Let the warmth synthesize perfectly glide.
We riding strictly on that absolute,
Undeniably heavy positive tide.
yeah. Standing entirely in the driveway, right under the flickering yellow porch light. The classic muscle car sitting heavy, completely losing the mechanical fight. Rust on the quarter panel, heavy black oil dripping down on the cracked concrete. But she still carries the absolute authentic rhythm of the undeniable street. I look over at the younger blood entirely wiping the heavy grease off his face. Frustrated because the old iron completely refuses to strictly keep up with the pace. I tell him patience is the absolute ultimate in heavy 94 physical tool. You absolutely cannot learn this mechanical magic in a downtown corporate school. You gotta feel the heavy vibration perfectly, entirely running through the cold steel. Understand exactly how the heavy suspension and the vintage analog brakes feel. We ain't dealing with absolute perfection, we dealing with the raw character here, wiping away the heavy metropolitan frustration and the undeniable mechanical fear. Hand me the socket set, let's completely entirely strip the heavy carburetor down. We rebuilding the most respected heavy retro engine in this western town. The heavy iron might be flawed, the paint might be entirely completely faded, but the undeniable brotherhood in this garage is absolutely never traded. We turning the rusted metal completely into the authentic neighborhood gold, passing down the heavy mechanical secrets that the physical ancestors told. Keep the analog bass line strictly pushing, let the soulful vocal hum rise. The absolute true value is completely visible, perfectly right in our eyes. He busts his knuckles perfectly entirely on the heavy rusted alternator bolt, feeling that entirely unexpected and completely painful physical electrical joke. Ready to throw the heavy iron wrench completely entirely across the garage floor, but I strictly step in, showing him exactly what this heavy physical labor is for. I point directly to the heavy engine block, explaining the exact combustion spark, how a single heavy mechanical item strictly completely lights up the massive dark. It ain't just about fixing the classic muscle cars or the heavy retro SUVs. It's about building the permanent solid foundation strictly for the family trees. When you learn exactly how to fix the broken pieces strictly with your bare hands, you completely, absolutely conquer the most unforgiving heavy physical lands. We replace the heavy spark plug, checking the completely worn out timing belt, the greatest undeniable and physical satisfaction that the neighborhood ever felt. The dark oil stains on a heavy canvas jacket are a legitimate badge of pride, earning the absolute undeniable right to take this heavy iron on a peaceful ride. The heavy iron might be flawed, the paint might be entirely this garage is absolutely never traded. We turning the rusted metal completely into the authentic neighborhood gold, passing down the heavy mechanical secrets that the physical ancestors told. Keep the analog bassline strictly pushing. Let the soulful vocal hum rise. The absolute true value is completely visible, perfectly right in our eyes. The heavy neighborhood is entirely, completely sleeping in the dark western night. But we still turning the heavy branches perfectly, strictly under the yellow light. The drum machine completely, perfectly echoing straight off the heavy brick wall, answering the undeniably heavy and righteous 94 hip-hop cultural call. He completely tightening the heavy exhaust manifold, perfectly right to the exact spec, earning the absolute, entirely undeniable and heavy physical metropolitan respect. I show him how to perfectly bleed the heavy brake lines directly into the glass jar, understanding every single heavy physical flaw inside this vintage analog car. Because a flawless machine absolutely doesn't teach you anything about real life. You completely need the heavy friction, the struggle, and the entirely physical strive to appreciate the heavy smooth cruising when the engine perfectly, completely hums, waiting strictly for the heavy golden morning to entirely and eventually come. We drop the heavy iron hood, entirely, completely wiping the dirty hands clean. The most incredibly beautiful heavy mechanical triumph that the avenue has seen. The heavy Pacific wind is completely washing the metropolitan stress away, bringing the absolute physical peace. At the exact end of the day, we completely unchained, looking straight at the massive western horizon. The undeniable state of mind that the independent soul relies on. Keep the vibraphone rolling, let the hovering synthesizer fly. We entirely secured the freedom perfectly under the open sky. Got caught, yeah, standing right beside me, completely taking the heavy moment in, exactly where the absolute, undeniable, and heavy romantic peace begins. The ocean wind is perfectly blowing strictly straight through her hair, without a single heavy metropolitan burden or an artificial care. We entirely disconnected from the heavy demands of the rushing crowd, where the toxic neighborhood voices are completely and entirely too loud. The heavy waves hitting the rocks exactly on the crisp analog snare, sending the heavy physical vibration completely up into the coastal air. You cannot buy this incredibly heavy physical piece in the downtown store. You gotta drive the retro ride completely down to the heavy ocean shore. The deep rolling bass line is perfectly harmonizing with the heavy tide, providing the absolute undeniable soundtrack for the coastal ride. When the heavy salt water completely entirely meets the western land, you finally, absolutely, completely, and entirely understand. The heavy Pacific wind is completely washing the metropolitan stress away, bringing the absolute physical peace at the exact end of the day. We completely unchained, looking straight at the massive western horizon. The undeniable state of mind that the independent soul relies on. Keep the vibraphone rolling, let the hovering synthesizer fly. We entirely secured the freedom perfectly under the open sky. The sun is absolutely strictly melting directly into the heavy ocean water. The absolute greatest visual reward for the 99 independent author. I completely leave the heavy university textbooks entirely back at the flat, because out here is exactly where the heavy spiritual education is at. No heavy electrical currents to calculate, no short circuits to find, just the entirely undeniable heavy physical freedom completely, strictly in the mind. The hovering sense completely, perfectly soaring exactly like the coastal birds, replacing the absolute, entirely heavy necessity for any spoken word. The heavy analog rhythm
control. We watch the sky turn completely purple directly over the heavy Pacific deep before the entire Western Hemisphere strictly, completely goes to sleep. The heavy Detroit engine is absolutely perfectly entirely ready to turn over. But the heavy physical freedom completely entirely remains the permanent owner. The heavy Pacific wind is completely washing the metropolitan stress away, bringing the absolute physical peace at the exact end of the day. We completely unchained, looking straight at the massive western horizon. The undeniable state of mind that the independent soul relies on. Keep the vibraphone rolling, let the hovering synthesize and fly. We entirely secured the freedom perfectly under the open sky.